Okay, we're about to talk money because streaming is becoming my new coping mechanism to deal with the feeling of helplessness in life. And that means that to a certain extent, everything's on the table for content. And I should be doing the voice training. Hang on. You wish to know about my grandfather? That's better than nothing. Talking like this. It's better than nothing. Okay. Um just keep that feeling. So money. For the past 8 months, since we moved down to Florida, we have been hardcore struggling. I am $15,000 in credit card debt, which isn't a lot compared to some people, but it's a lot for me, especially because my income is limited by my disability. um, and that being said, 8 months after the move, we finally have a second income to try and survive on. And that's going to make such a big difference, I hope. Today was her first day on the job, and she worked, I don't know how many hours, 6 hours. 6 hours at $15 an hour is $90. And $90 is greater than zero. Facts. And that means if we're scraping by on my income and we have that from her, we don't know if she's part-time or full-time yet. We don't even know that much. So we assume part-time, we assume $90 a day. Part-time is 20 hours a week. Oh my god, I did this wrong. 20 hours a week, $15 an hour, $300 a week, correct? Yes? No? $300 a week. Taxes, we'll round down to $250. $250 a week is an even $1,000 a month. Yes, I know that much. My brain has not turned to mush to that extent since college. And $1,000 a month, if we're putting half of it like we plan to towards paying off my debt, then 15 months and we're good. Just wait, I'm so stupid. Ignore that I ever said that. 30 months and we'd be good. So that's slow going, but it will help along the way. Yeah. And the rest, we're finally going to have some money to have some breathing room, get some good food, go on slightly more dates, pay for things that we've been putting off. And holy Christ, that's going to be amazing. So $500 of unallocated money after paying $500 of the bills each month. $250 to each of us. $100 of mine, minimum, is going into my transition fund, which you can donate to. I'll get a link in my bio or something to the GoFundMe that I've yet to start, but I also have donations set up on stream. I think. I hope it's there. So far, no one's donated, so I haven't noticed anything. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to beg for donations. I am here to just talk math with you right now, because certain numbers going up is good. And let's see. If I have $250 of unallocated funds, and 100 of it shouldn't be considered unallocated, because that's going to transition fund so that I can finally get help. And then there's 150 left I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I thought it would be good to stream about budget stuff, especially this early on, but we don't know shit about how much money we're gonna get. I just want something to do. I want to talk. I want to feel productive. So even though this stream is titled budget whatever or whatever the fuck I titled it, we can ignore that. And I just want to feel like I've got brain. I want to feel like I'm putting my efforts towards something that will pay off in the end. Does that make sense? A false sense of productivity that's hopefully not so false. Yeah. So, what do I have in store? What do I have planned for this upcoming year? I want to get a better computer. I want to use my fund money fund, which I don't have yet, but hopefully will get, to get a better computer so that I can stream and have something to do besides sitting at home thinking about how depressed I am, how dysphoric I am, and how much I hate myself. Because that's why these accounts exist, just to give me something to do. And that's gonna take a back burner, though. It's gotta take a back burner because my partner's computer broke, and I don't want her stressing out. And she's the one of us that has to work. I mean, there's a reason why I can't work. I'm severely crippled. You know, I'm gotta be thankful I can even walk. And I try to push myself. Like, I don't get the disability cards when we go grocery shopping anymore. That's a big step for me, and I'm kind of sad that that's a big step, because it is. And I just want to work up to doing more with life. I saw a video. I saw a video today on YouTube that told me time is gonna go by anyway. Do the thing you're putting off. And I realized I'm not putting off shit. I have nothing to put off, and that's even sadder. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna start making myself do things. I logged back into my TikTok, posted a few videos there. I made a Blue Sky account. That was on my to-do list today. So I'm gonna be tweeting, or whatever they call it, on Blue Sky there. I'm making the GoFundMe as soon as this stream ends, and that'll be found in my descriptions everywhere, I'm sure. Because, fun fact, I have been disabled my entire life, from birth, cerebral palsy, and several comorbidities of cerebral palsy. That's lifelong, that's forever. Yet I couldn't get on disability as long as both my parents were alive, because America considers you your parents' problem, more or less. Even though my parents couldn't really support me as much as the ideal would be. And I don't think they would be offended at me saying that much. I mean, we weren't rock bottom poor, but cerebral palsy costs a good fair of money to get the best care, or even, you know, moderate care in this country. I mean, physical therapy is expensive. That being said, you know, I'm getting off topic. I didn't qualify for disability as long as both my parents were alive. So it wasn't until semi-recently that I got onto full disability and was able to go on in my life. I was kind of stuck in the low income housing, and I still can't afford housing, but That's neither here nor there. It's just my options were so limited, and they're a little better now. But being on disability, I get less than $1,500 a month. And that's all I'm ever going to get for my entire life. As inflation keeps climbing up and up and up and up and up, I'm out of luck. No one cares. And the people who do care don't have the power to change it. Because America has got some problems. I don't know how I got on that topic. I've just been talking and talking. I can't work. That was the point. That was what started me on that train of thought. Walking is hard. Staircases are hard. I can only drive because of hand controls. Like, oh, I'm getting a phone call. Oh no. I'll be back. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out how to splice those recordings together to make this into one video because it does not warrant two. It barely warrants one. Someone was just calling me because I got on some list with surgery options. They didn't take my insurance. It didn't really matter. I'm gonna tell a story because I feel like I've just been rambling and I want something a little more focused. When I was 15, I want to say, I might have been 14, it was my sophomore year, my junior year of high school, I was missing 3 days a week out of 5 for physical therapy because we had to drive 45 minutes to an hour to get to the closest place that would give me physical therapy because it was getting difficult for me to be able to walk, to be able to ambulate on my own, which is to be expected with cerebral palsy. You know, I'm hypertonic, which means the muscles get rigid, and they get more and more rigid, and the muscles get tighter and tighter, and that lowers mobility, which makes it, you walk worse and worse and worse, and you got to keep trying to maintain the looseness of your muscles through proper use, or you will deteriorate. Now that's important because this one day, and I won't name names because I don't want to cause any drama back in my hometown, but there was a teacher, and she was my homeroom. I was her very first class of the day, and for some reason, she got it in her head that she was going to make this group of high schoolers, my class, do the Pledge of Allegiance, even though we hadn't done that since like grade school. I say grade school, I mean elementary school, you know. And, you know, I didn't even abstain. I would abstain now, but I didn't even abstain from the Pledge of Allegiance. All I did was not stand up for it because my legs were in so much pain from the intense physical therapy that I was doing every other day and also every night at home. And she noticed. I mean, I did the hand over the heart, I said the pledge, but I was seated. And that pissed her off for some reason. And she called me up to her desk to get on to me. And I don't remember exactly how the conversation goes or went, but I do remember her criticizing the fact that I refused to stand for the pledge, even though I said the pledge and I still participated, even though legally I'm not required to. She told me I was milking my disability by sitting, and, quote, her autistic daughter has more sense than me because my legs hurt and I didn't want to stand unnecessarily for something that I'm not required to do in the first place. And she couldn't see how she was being extremely ableist to me, but also extremely insulting to not just her own daughter, but the autistic community as a whole, by implying that you shouldn't expect autistic people to have that level of sense that she's claiming this standout individual has. You get what I'm saying? And it was around that point that I turned around and I started walking out of the classroom. She says, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to the office." She said, I haven't sent you to the office." I said, "No, I'm going to report you." And she goes, "Report me for what?" And, I tell her, and she convinces me not to go report her. But honestly, if I did report her, nothing would have happened, because I reported so many teachers for similar growing up that nothing ever did happen. I was in a town of like 700 to 900 people. My graduating class was 22 kids. No one's going to do anything because they don't care enough. It's unfortunately a pattern. I hope the school is doing better now. I don't know if that teacher's still teaching. I hope she's not acting that way. But that was something. Yeah. And going back to the topic of my disability, we got a pool recently. There's a pool in the backyard now. Swimming is supposed to help. It's supposed to get me moving. It's lower impact than walking, obviously, because it's, at least partially submerged. I could do that. But exercise doesn't give me the same dopamine, if that makes sense, as other things, as it used to, because it really used to. I used to over-exercise. I was super anorexic. It was a bad time in my life. But it didn't feel bad at the time. But exercise doesn't give me that same dopamine hit anymore. It doesn't give me that sense of being productive anymore. And I'm chasing the feeling of being productive that will come with the engagement that hopefully I will find on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok, and now on Blue Sky, all of which you could find me as Missy AF, just like on here. But I'm hoping with the engagement, I'll get that sense of doing something, maybe a sense of community. But also, when my fiance first moved in and she got her old job before we moved down to Florida, I felt real shitty not being able to contribute. I mean, I gave my entire check. I've always given my entire check to anything we need. I mean, that's what it's there for. But I wasn't able to work, and so personally I didn't feel like I was being productive. And that's why I started writing my book, and now I'm published. And did I think I was ever going to be published when I started that? No. I thought I was going to post it to some website, and maybe a few people would read it, and maybe they would comment chapter by chapter, and I would get that same sense of engagement and productivity from the engagement that happens because of it. And here we are. It's published now. I mean, I haven't sold a ton of copies, but it's out there in the world. And even if no money comes from anything, and even if nothing big happens, because publishing with Amazon isn't necessarily massive, it's out in the world. And I want to be able to think I did that, even if it's a small thing. Because for so long, I haven't been able to. Because back in 2019, when vocational rehabilitation, the company that paid for my college because of my disability, they told me for years they would pay for me for my undergraduate and my master's program. And when the time came and I was graduating from my undergraduate program, they said, "You are too profoundly disabled." They said, "It is our belief that it is unlikely you will ever be well enough to enter the workforce. So we can't support you anymore." And that goes down to their mission statement, their prerogative. They are vocational rehabilitation. They want to get you into a job. I don't have hard feelings toward them. At the time, it really sucked because they were saying, "I'm profoundly disabled." They were saying, "I'm statistically unlikely to have any sort of meaningful contribution to society." And yet, at the same time in my life, I wasn't able to get disability because my parents were alive. So that sucked at the time. I don't know. Anyway, they were supposed to pay for my master's program, and then they went back on their word, in line with their mission statement. I'll say that much. Because I was more disabled than I was when I started with them, and they no longer had faith in me and my abilities. And that was 2019. I'm getting back on track. That was 2019, and ever since then, that was August of 2019. And within months of that, COVID hit. And I got COVID. I got COVID 3 times. And life, it never would have been normal. It never would have felt normal. But due to the pandemic, more than most things, the fact that it doesn't feel normal stands out to me as being wrong. I was always aware I was disabled. I had come to terms with my disability at a very young age. But there's a difference between coming to terms with your diagnosis, coming to terms with your abilities as a disabled person, and then the third level that I didn't expect, coming to terms with what that means for both the value society places on you and the significance of contributions you can make towards it. That's the part I'm struggling with. So now I'm making bullshit little videos, and they're going out there into the void, into the wind, so that I can combat the sense of not ineptitude and not disability itself, and not exactly powerlessness, but to be able to say, as I was saying earlier, that is out there, I did that. Don't know if it's good, don't know if anyone cares, But there's proof to show I didn't. Okay. Almost cried there for some reason. This is a heavier topic, but there's proof to show I didn't spend my life wasting away in a bed. That's the point of what I'm doing here, why I post all these to YouTube after, why I'm getting back into TikTok. Because otherwise, when I die, it will at best only barely matter. And on that very heavy note, I'm going to end this one because I don't want to cry on stream. Good. Bye-bye.